rules and regulations. Just as some background, I'll read the public hearing notice in a moment. But I just mentioned at the Water and Sewer Commission's late October meeting, we approved these changes, and having approved them, they were then subject to a public hearing, public remarks, comments, and so that's what we're doing.
So we did not approve them, we approved sending them to a public hearing. We have to approve them today.
We approved them.
We did not approve them. We sent them to public hearing, we approved them after.
Susan, did we approve these rules and regulations last meeting?
No.
Do we have to wait until after the public hearing?
Yes.
Okay. All right, here's the charge for the public hearing. Proposed changes, sewer use rules and regulations. The Board of Water and Sewer Commission will be holding a hybrid public hearing on Wednesday, November 6, 2024 at 1 p.m. at the Orleans Town Hall, 19 School Road, in the Nauset Meeting Room, or for remote participation, use a link, which is lengthy and I won't read, or tune in by telephone. The purpose of the hearing is to receive public input regarding proposed changes to the sewer use rules and regulations. A minute ago, I previously mistakenly said that we had approved these at a previous meeting. We haven't, so we're waiting for public input before we vote to approve them, in case there are any changes. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you to the committee. Last meeting I was before you, we went over these proposed changes pretty much in depth, had a really good discussion on them, and then at that time, this committee voted to hold a public hearing to open it up to public for public comment. So I think today what we'll do is kind of briefly go over them as well, to answer any other questions that we have, present any scenarios that you want to see for some of the proposed regulation changes, discuss them, open up to public comment, and then I presume the board will want to take a vote at that time.
Yes. Okay.
So we're working on revision number 4 of the sewer use rules and regulations. So should this be approved, we'll be on revision 4. I expect probably this time next year, we're going to be on revision 8 or 10. We're just going through a lot of working of the systems right now. This is to be expected in the beginning as the sewer system gets off the ground with the town. So first thing I want to address your attention to is page 24 of the proposed regulations, the amendments.
Okay.
Under section 9, subsection B, we are instituting a change here that basically affects the flow offset fee as well as the reserve capacity fee. So as we spoke, last meeting, what this flow offset and reserve capacity fee is for someone that wants to connect to a sewer system that's outside of the phase in which they're designated for. So if someone that's in phase 7 but abuts the phase 1 sewer extension area or sewer area, they can petition the Water Sewer Board to connect to the phase 1 sewer area. And the way that our regulations are written, they basically have to pay a fee, if approved, to pretty much skip the line. So basically, you're taking away flow from the treatment plant as well as you're taking away capacity at the treatment plant. And the idea with the sewer regulations was to create a fee assessment for skipping that line to be able to connect to a phase prior to what you're designated for. The way that the regulations were written was the flow offset fee shall be based on 4 times the proposed sewer design. That was the regulations that were originally adopted. Fast forward a year and a half, 2 years later, now we have a sewer unit, we have a fee structure, we know what the betterment costs are for each one of those. And when you actually run the calculation on a live example, what I demonstrated to you last meeting was a 5-bedroom house that abuts the Phase 1 area, that has a sewer stub in the ground, but is not designated a Phase 1, they're a future phase. Ask for a connection, it gets approved. Their flow offset fee and their reserve capacity fee would be almost $300,000, where their betterment fee, their regular compensatory betterment fee, or their privilege fee, would be $22,000. So someone that would want to connect their home would have to pay $322,000 to connect to the sewer system. I understand the premise behind it, to skip phases, but I think we need to set that fee more realistically to what we should be, providing an equitable amount. So we provided a 25% of their design flow. So we took them from four times to 25%, and that equates to about an additional cost of about $12,000 to $15,000 in that same example. So that same example, they would be paying $15,000 in an additional fee, plus their $22,000 betterment fee. So it's really to bring these numbers in line to where they should be. Now, if we want to change to 25%, we could do that. Tim Harrison's from AECom is in the audience, has different examples that if we changed it to 25%, 50%, 70%, what that fee structure would look like. So if you'd like to see that, if you need some help with that clarification, but that's the intent of this amendment here.
Yes?
How did the 25% calculation, why did you choose 25%?
We chose 25% because we found that 25% was a reasonable number to, in our opinion, to assess to skip the line for a future phase. So these individuals will still be paying a betterment just like anyone else. They would still be paying the infrastructure costs to bring sewer to their doorstep. They'll still be paying a portion of the cost for the treatment plant, but they're paying an additional fee to take that flow away from future phases. So there was no real hard calculation other than to bring things within reasonable expectation, in accordance with what their betterment fee was. So it didn't make sense for us to say someone that's paying a $22,000 betterment fee should be assessed $300,000 in additional fee. That didn't sound very equitable to us. So we went through some scenarios where at 10% and it was $5,000, and we said, well, that person's skipping 7 phases of construction. They should still be paying a fee, and that's where we landed on 25%, where we thought at least 50% of their betterment fee would be an assessed fee, an additional assessed fee, and that's where we landed at 25%.
Any board members have questions or comments on the change to 25%?
And I just want to note that, this commission has already approved properties within this particular situation here. And they were approved without the benefit of knowing what their fee structure and their cost structure was going to be. So this person, this individual, or maybe multiples, have already got the approval, have already taken the steps to move forward to development and doing what they're doing. Now it's our time to build them, and we want to build them, fair and equitably. That's really what we want to do. So, Tim, if you don't mind just showing a couple of the scenarios, if you guys want to see them.
Sure, absolutely. So what I'm showing here, Tim Harrison with AECom. What I'm showing here is just kind of a tabular representation for a range of flows of basically what the application would be for their new flow allowed at their property from 50 to 500 gallons per day, with the 5-bedroom house falling kind of in this range here, for various adjustment factors. Otherwise, the calculation is exactly the same. So the original factor of 4 that we showed here is represented in the green bars graphically. The 1/4 factor is the blue here, and And it doesn't look like a lot because it has to fit on the same chart. But, for 500 gallons a day extra, the total flow offset and reserve capacity fees would be nearly $29,000 as compared to 460,000-ish. Just to kind of play with something in between, I've set up this scenario where if the adjustment factor was 1, kind of using that same extreme example here, that total adjustment factor, flow offset fee and reserve capacity fee would be $114,000. And so, like, as Rich mentioned, we can play with this if you feel like something in between 1 and a quarter is better, or 2, we are here to play with that. If we wanted to change it to an adjustment factor of 2, we can reassess what those values are.
Is there anyone that would like to speak in favor of a different than a 25% charge?
I have a question. So we do this on 25%. We do it on the fact that just to take your last on the 500 per day flow.
Yes.
Okay, all right. It's all in, and the next year the flow is 1,000. The next year it's 2,000. Next year it's 3,000. So how do we recapture the reserve capacity fee in those circumstances? I understand that the flow will be built like any service charge. All right. But how do we recapture if somebody locks us in at whatever it is, 150, and then the next year is 500, and the next year is 600. So how do we address that?
Wouldn't they have to ask for, they would have to ask for more for?
These, I may not be completely understanding your question, but if I do, the values that we're looking at here would be their total allotments. So this is what they're applying for capacity within the system for that. If it's determined that their flows are above that allotment, then the board would go back to them and notify them that their flows are exceeding what they have been allowed. And I think you would either assess them an additional fee, or you would work with them to have them control their sewer
Do you think
usage.
the regulations provide the elasticity to do that? Can we go back up to their set?
I think that the allotments are defined as kind of an upper limit of their capacity that they have paid for. I can't speak right now as to whether or not there should be stronger language that allows you to go back and take those types of actions.
Well, wouldn't this be a matter to be taken up if they add on to the building or change the nature of their business? They would have to apply for a higher flow, which would then trigger privilege fees or something. One of those fees to add to capacity.
Correct. This is when this would get triggered. is-
Yeah, so that is how we would
Yes,
address it, right? It wouldn't be left to chance.
correct. Yeah, so they,
And wouldn't their starting number be based on the prior 3 years' worth of flow, like we do for all the other properties? I mean, so they would basically get slotted in just like they were one of the existing houses within that area?
Yeah, I think that's where it would start off at, is what their allocation is, what the historic flow is, and then from there, make an assessment on what their additional, what they're asking for.
This relates to the one-time, we're talking about the one-time flow offset fee, correct?
In this particular case, It's a one-time flow offset fee and reserve capacity fee. That's for someone to connect. If they came in the future and they were asking for additional flow after they were connected, then they would be assessed a compensatory privilege fee, which is requesting more flow. And that is going to be the next section that we talk to on the amendment.
Okay.
So this is just for someone that's outside of the sewer phase, wanting to get into the sewer phase. They're assessed these two additional fees, as I say, for skipping the line. They would be assessed at once. Any additional flow after that, or any determination after the fact that they're exceeding their allocated amount, then we would have to work with them and say, you're exceeding your allocation. You either have to make a request to the Water Sewer Commission for additional allocation, or you got to bring your use within compliance.
Yeah, which means they'd be treated like any other Phase 1, if that was the phase,
Exactly.
any other Phase 1 property. Yeah. Okay? I think we've done enough on that one.
So moving forward on the proposals on page number 25, this is where we get into the compensatory sewer privilege fee. This was language that was originally part of the sewer assessment bylaw when it went through the Attorney General, went to town meeting, got adopted, and basically it got kicked back to the town saying, we don't want the compensatory privilege fee within the bylaw, the sewer bylaw. We want that within your sewer use rules and regulations. So what we're doing here is now bringing that compensatory privilege fee into the sewer use regulations. So what is a compensatory privilege fee? This is a restaurant that has 20 seats. Now they want 45 seats. They come before the Board of Water Sewer Commission. They ask for 25 extra seats. They want additional gallons. Board of Water Sewer Commission agrees. Then we assess them a compensatory privilege fee similar to a betterment, as if they had 45 gallons, all the 45 seats from the beginning. So it's a fee that we're allowed to assess after an initial betterment has already been assessed. So anyone that qualifies for a compensatory privilege fee has already been assessed a betterment, but when they come back and ask for more flow, they get issued a compensatory privilege fee.
Based on a percentage of their original betterment?
Nope, for their additional use, so what their additional use.
Okay.
So if they're,
They've already paid the
Right.
payment. Right.
so basically someone wants to add 2 bedrooms home, we just make a determination what their additional flow is. Then we equate it to an equivalent sewer unit, and then they're assessed a privilege fee based on that.
Okay.
The way that the structure of the compensatory privilege fee is, according to this regulation, is that their fee will be assessed similar to the prevailing betterment rate at the time. So right now, the betterment rate for one sewer unit is $5,795, I believe, somewhere in that,
Something like
that range. That's what the prevailing rate is right now for, a betterment fee. So today, if someone asked you for additional flow, they would get assessed at that rate. 5 years from now, when we're doing Phase 3, and someone wants to, in Phase 3 betterment rate, the sewer unit rate has been determined, the rate per sewer unit, that would be the new prevailing rate at the time. So anyone 5 years from now asks for additional flow, they would be assessed at the prevailing rate at that time. So, when we're on Phase 10 and someone in the Phase 1 sewer unit wants to add seats, they're not paying the Phase 1 betterment rate, they're paying the Phase 10 betterment rate for those new gallons. But it is equal to the betterment that is being paid at that time.
Great.
So no difference there, there's no inflation factor, there's no other costs, associated with it. It's the same as if they were issued a betterment rate at that time.
Okay.
Any questions on that section?
Yeah, I have a question. Is the compensatory fee subject to an abatement?
Is the compensatory fee subject to abatement?
A petition for abatement, I'm not saying that the abatement would go through, but I'm just saying, is it subject to the abatement process?
Subject to adjustment, not abatement.
Would you say?
Subject to adjustment, so they could lower what they're asking for to lower their fee?
I think they,
Wouldn't be an abatement.
I think they could, but the way that the privilege fee works right now is someone comes before this board and requests additional gallons, they gotta have a check in hand for that additional flow. So they're willing and able to make that commitment right then and there at the time of determination. So for them to go back and abate it after the fact,
Right.
you know, I don't think so, because they're approved for what they're requested. So there wouldn't be an abatement process for that.
So there's a distinction in the regulations between an abatement and an adjustment?
You know that, Mike?
Well, one's a defined term, and the other I don't think is.
I mean, the difference here, as we've discussed it, is the compensatory fee is being applied for, and would be a very similar process to this. So the party would know the fee at the time they were applying, so they may later ask for an adjustment saying we did not need this flow. They may ask for that in the moment, but they will know the fee when they request it, so they would not need an abatement for a fee that they're agreeing to at the hearing.
So they pay the fee, time goes on, and then they ask for an adjustment. How does the adjustment work? And then what's the process of adjustment once the fee is there?
I'll tell you my determination. I don't think it's 100% defined in the sewer use regulations, and I think these are some of the future amendments. So the way that I interpret the regulation is someone can come before this committee, ask for a flow reduction, saying, I don't have a 5-bedroom, I want a 3-bedroom reduction. But they're not getting money back for what they have. Because at the end of the day, we had to build infrastructure to provide for that 5-bedroom that you wanted, that you asked for. Now, if you don't want to build it, that's up to you. But the infrastructure's in the ground, paid for 5 bedrooms, you're gonna have that. So we could do a flow adjustment, but you're not gonna get the benefit of getting your betterment funds back.
So the architecture is the building permit in terms of the initial?
So the,
Mark, I think
Sorry,
Kevin has something to say that will clear it.
Yeah, just
things
to
up.
be, your Select Board Liaison, Kevin Galligan. The use of the term abatement, and I was looking it up, tying from your sewer use rules and regulations, refer only to Mass General Law, the section that relates only to betterments, which you have gone through and you'll be going through. All fees relative to what I call capacity management of the system are your jurisdiction. How you might receive adjustments to fees, as Sue said, it's totally in your purview. But everything you're talking about with Rich right now is how you manage the capacity of this plant. Not giving it away for free because taxpayers have funded it, keeping everything in balance. But the use of the term abatement only relates to betterments in the tie of your regs to the state law.
And following up on what Rich said, they're gonna know what the fee is ahead of time for what they're asking and be ready to pay it at your meeting where that you're approving it. Ahead of time, if they think they don't wanna pay that much and they wanna lower what they're asking for, they'll have a reduced amount coming to the board to pay. That's what I meant by an adjustment. They can adjust it prior to meeting with you,
And it's voluntary.
and it's voluntary.
It's voluntary.
100% voluntary.
We have a member of the public. Did you want to speak to this particular item?
I do. Yeah,
Okay.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is,
Please,
my name is Ben Zender. I'm speaking as a citizen. One of the things that I understand from your regs is that when you initially come in and are assigned flow, your property is assigned to betterment. There's a lien on the property, and you have a period of time to pay that betterment off as part of the thing. If you come in for a compensatory upgrade, I'll use for lack of a better term, what you're doing is you're being assigned a cost for that additional flow. And you have to, as you say, come in with a check, which means it's not part of a betterment. And what we find with systems in other towns is sometimes towns want the flow. Sometimes towns want the additional flow. you know, you need it to make it work. And also, because of economic conditions, let's say in downtown Orleans, somebody may want to take a property that's not flowed for a restaurant and turn it into a restaurant. But having to pay that compensatory fee up front, all of it up front, is really an economic disincentive. And it may make a project not viable for somebody coming in. So I understand that in some other communities, if you come in for a compensatory upgrade, there's a process by which that could become a betterment against the property, meaning it's leaned against the property in the same way, so that the cost of that upgrade is paid for by the applicant in such a way that maybe it makes it possible to, you know, to turn a house into a restaurant or to add a bedroom or whatever it is, and it doesn't become an economic disincentive to somebody buying the property. So I'm wondering whether you can, in connection with looking at your rules and regulations, can discuss whether or not a compensatory upgrade can be something that can be assessed and leaned against the property in the same way and managed in the same way by the tax collector and the assessor in that way. I know you don't get the hit up front of somebody coming in and giving you a check for $100,000, $200,000, but again, most of these commercial deals that work downtown don't work on big margins. So it may be something you might want to consider as part of your regulatory revisions. And thank you for hearing me. So,
Is there something more you wanted to say on that
Well,
in response to Ben's
no, I
comments?
to an extent, I agree with the previous speaker. I think there's economic development opportunities to a business owner to lessen their upfront cost to establishing a new business in town by not giving them a big hit right up front to ask for additional sewer gallons. And I think one of the objectives that we're trying to do and working with our sewer teams on all our individual meetings that we have almost on a weekly basis, a different group, is to say, what kind of structure would that look like where if someone came in, they're already paying a betterment, they're coming in to ask for more gallons, more flow, how can we take that cost associated with that additional flow and prorate it over the remaining years of the betterments that they have? So basically just take that example, $100,000 of compensatory fee, portion it over the remaining 15 years of payments that they have for their betterment. So they don't have to come up with $100,000 up front to get their business off the ground. So I think there's certainly an economic development end of this that we really should be looking at to say, how can we make this more accommodating for a new business to start up in town? But it's not part of these sewer regulations at this time, but certainly something we're looking at.
Something we should address.
We're working with our treasurer, our assessors, and our collectors to figure out exactly how we can make that happen and, you know, to do something similar that was just spoken of.
Great.
Well, can you not say that an adjustment on the fee is based upon the economic development and future use of the property, and that is a factor in consideration for the amortizing of the fee over the same period of time as the betterment? In other words, that's a reason. That's a reason. And what my concern is that when you don't have a reason, and you really don't have anything but your particular view of it at the time. And I find it to be problematic and in some cases dangerous. And I think that this discussion, you know, brings out to bear that what you're trying to do is turn this house into a restaurant because you're gonna have more business or whatever it is. It's a business development, it's a positive thing. And if you're going to be part of the deal to make it happen, then there ought to be a reason behind the amortization or reduction or payment, whatever you want to do, so they don't have to come up with $100,000 or $200,000 to hook up because they're not going to be able to do it. So just to say to somebody, you know, pay the money or, you know, or hit the highway, that's not what you want, right?
Mark, I think it was said that all that you just explained will be being considered as a future change to these rules and regs.
Yeah, I don't think there's an issue on a reason of why to do it. It's really the mechanics on how to do it. So I think we need to work through the mechanics on how to do it so we can come back before you and say, we have a
That's
way of doing this. This is how it would be done, so we can actually present an amendment to you that works. So that's really what
Yeah,
we're
it's
at.
an amendment to the rules and regs.
Okay, I thought you had said it would not be part of the rules and regs and be somewhere else within the code, within the town.
No.
But if you're saying it's going to be, that's fine. I mean, I think we're all saying the
it's-
same thing.
It's within our
Right,
jurisdiction to work out
absolutely.
amendments
That's fine. I think we're all saying the
periodically
same
and-
thing. It's fine.
to improve the way the system works.
Correct.
Okay.
That's compensatory privilege fee. The rest of these are really minor in nature, happy to go through them. Page 29, Section 7 says septic hauler's license. We don't have any differentiation of a septic hauler. Board of Health only issues hauler licenses, they don't have septic, so it's just cleaning up that language there. We start getting into page 38, 39, we talk a lot about fog compliance, fog permits. A lot of these requests came from the health agent herself. She's taken these regulation amendments to the Board of Health. The Board of Health unanimously approved them, to support them, and bringing these forward. On page 38, it basically talks about temporary food service permits. None of these temporary food service permits dump into the sewer system, but if they were to, we're just telling them, you gotta come up with a fog compliance plan, you gotta meet with us. So we're taking the Board of Health out of it and basically just saying, we know for the most part, these temporary food places are self-contained, they're not dumping into our sewer system. Oh, but if you do, you need to get a fog management plan. Couple of differentiation of, what we want before the board and what we want before the department. So in these rules and regulation, board is defined as the Board of Health, department's defined as the Public Works Department, commission's defined as the Water Sewer Commission. So we really just made some adjustment on who people should be seeking out for, fog compliance in here. Moving on to page 39. Again, just changing the language on who they speak with, the commission, as an example. Variances above, this is fog variances. Fog variances, stated maintenance schedule will be approved at the discretion of the Board of Health. They don't issue the fog variances, the Water and Sewer Commission do. So we're correcting that, where all variances on the sewer system come before you, not to the Board of Health. When you get down to the lower half of the page, which would have been section G, subsection 3, basically, we're taking out the language that if you don't comply with fog, we're gonna pull your license. We're taking that language out and saying that we're gonna petition to the Board of Health to have a show cause hearing to ultimately pull your license, but we just don't wanna say, we're gonna pull your license. We're gonna have a hearing for you before we pull your license. Moving forward to page 66. This is the fee schedule.
Yep.
We changed board here, so this is, again, operations without a fog management plan. The remarks were to go through the Board of Health. We don't want that. We want people on our sewer system to come before the Board of Water Sewer Commissions for their non-compliance. So we changed it from the board to the commission. So anyone that's not compliant will be heard by this commission, not by the Board of Health. And then, last meeting, we struck the language to say up to $10,000 per year. So right now, the fine is still at $10,000 per year. But we left the language, failure to comply with fog management requirements will lead to a petition to Board of Health to suspend the food license. So it's pretty similar to what that last section was. It's just reiterating, if you don't comply, we're gonna go petition the Board of Health and pull your food service establishment license. And then the last section on the amendments is the cost associated with grinder pumps and everything to do with low-pressure sewage pump system. So the town went out for a competitive bid to purchase a lump sum of these low-pressure systems to be able to pass a competitive bid on to the homeowner that needs like an E1 pump and, trying to get a competitive rate for them. We got a competitive rate, but the way that the bidding system works, there was a scheduled escalation value that goes with that bid that was successful. So all we're trying to do here is get that escalation value carried into the rules and regulations, because the way that these rules and regulations are written, the prices and the cost are inside the rules and regulations rather than a reference to an Appendix A, which is something we might do in the future where we just modify Appendix A or Appendix B. So these are the actual costs, we're just updating the regulations to reflect that. So that is the amendments in a nutshell.
Any comments, questions from the commission? Any comments, questions, or from the public on any of the proposed changes? Seeing none, then,
We have a hand raised online.
oh. All right, we recognize the hand raise.
Yeah, we had an application for a sewer betterment abatement. I was wondering if that's going to be heard by the commission, or is that later on the agenda?
Yes, it is later on the agenda.
Okay. Do you have an idea when that might be?
Well, according, what's your address?
19 South Orleans Road.
19A South Orleans
That
Road.
was supposed to start at 1:30, but the hearing on the rules and regs changes went a little long.
Okay.
So we're going to get to,
Soon.
You're one of a group that's up next.
Okay. Okay, fine. We'll wait. Thank you.
Move to approve, I guess first we have to close the public hearing. Move to close the public hearing.
Second.
is that what we do?
Close the public portion
Yes, and
of the
then
public hearing, then you
convene
deliberate amongst the board.
Board of Sewer,
Yep.
Board of Commissioners. Okay? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I will make a motion to approve the amendments discussed today for the sewer use rules and regs.
Well, I think we, having ended the public hearing, I think we need to convene the regular meeting.
We do that.
Board and Water Sewer Commissioners, that's what seems appropriate to me.
I think right now you concluded the public portion of the public hearing. Now you deliberate as a board, you would make your recommendations, your vote. After that, then you would close the public hearing, and then you would participate with the regular agenda. So I think you're still right on task where you should be.
Okay, fine. All in favor of approving the proposed changes to the regulations?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And then I guess another motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Welcome, thank you. Okay, running a little late, apologize to the property owners that are here for abatement hearings, but we're going to begin the first slug of 4 appeals. First one for 11A Center Place. Someone want to speak to that?
Hello,
Noon.
my name is Robin Einen, and I'm from Village Court Condominiums, where 11A Center Place is located. And I sent you a packet. I assume you all have a copy. And we met with you about a year ago, although your faces have changed a bit. And we explained that in reviewing the permitting process, we noticed that there was a inflated amount of water being used for one of the units. And so we met with you and we presented our data, and the data proves that that had to be for irrigation, and for 2 reasons. The amount of water being used from a period of about 3 o'clock in the morning till about 5 o'clock in the morning is consistent with the irrigation timer. So we met with everybody, and they said to put in a deduct meter and to come back and file for an abatement, and then here we are. And the abatement is for over $20,000.
I'm the unit owner, and when I bought the place, I didn't realize that when the builder built it, it was cheaper for them to put the irrigation meter in my basement than to do anything else. So I never even knew about it until a few years later. I realized that all the water was going through the same thing. So then once they made the sewer thing that you're going to charge on water, I said, help, I can't pay for all this irrigation water. So that's when we put in the deduct meter last year.
So what was the date of the deduct meter being installed?
What was what?
The data?
Date?
The date of the deduct meter? It was October 2023.
So that's outside of the look-back period?
The problem is that we never knew there was going to be any look-back period. And getting a bill that looks like this is exacerbated even more by the fact that 5 years ago, I moved in with George back there into his condo, and so nobody's been living in mine. And so, you know, to get a bill for $26,000, I'm like, whoa.
I understand that.
But the deduct meter, it's my understanding that it doesn't start to deduct until you put the sewer is hooked up. Is that correct?
Has to have something.
Yeah, we had to wait till then.
Right.
So how, you know, I mean, that it doesn't line up.
But the sewer bylaw, under water usage discrepancies, doesn't discriminate between water that is irrigation water and water that's used for anything else. It is the metered water. The deduct meter will help you with your sewer, with your sewer use fee. Thank you. But it will not help here.
So why did you ask us to put in a deduct meter?
I think it was to help you with your usage fee.
So,
Susan?
so all of the water used for the last 20 years that's been irrigation, now we have to pay that amount of water since the sewer, all those sewer rules
It's
came in
only-
after that.
It's only from 2000 to 2003.
Well, still, we didn't know that's what they were gonna do ahead of time. There's no way for us to know that the sewer was gonna be charged by water.
You're talking about the period that we assessed. That was 20 to
20,
20, 21, 22.
To it, right, the end of, yes, sorry, yes. But it is,
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't get it.
Susan, we were discussing this earlier. Did the minutes show that the property owner was instructed, or it was suggested that might help? I think it's very important, because I don't think, I was not chairman at the time, and I confirmed with Susan that I wasn't at that meeting. But it would seem beyond the scope of our powers to instruct a property owner to add a deduct meter.
I think it
But
would,
that's, I mean, you can see from the correspondence I had with Tom Daly, I notified him as soon as the deduct meter was installed. He thanked me. Alan was here. He's the one that told us that, you know, once you put the deduct meter in and the data shows that you only use one sewer unit per year, then you apply for an abatement, and that's what we did.
but the sewer betterment is based on 3 years of water data, every gallon that goes through your water meter. And that was before you put the
But
deduct.
how would we know that when there wasn't any
It was passed at, the betterment bylaw was passed at town meeting. It went to the Attorney General's office and then went through the state legislature.
But the thing is, they told us we couldn't even put in the deduct meter until the sewer was hooked up, so we waited. I mean, we're caught in a catch-22.
That was
Got a
good
comment
advice,
from
yes.
Just
Mr. Galligan.
From the select board, I mean, two things. One is to the point of public information. I can say for a fact, public notice went out to all affected property owners, inviting them to come to hearings. We've held informational meetings. Every property owner has received at least 3 notices with reference to information that we have provided them well in advance. I would encourage people to please keep the issue of deduct meters, which only helps reduce your sewer usage bills going forward, separate from the betterment bylaw. This board, for the public, is really bound by a bylaw in town. There is very little flexibility they can take, unlike fees, which we talked about earlier, that you do have some flexibility in terms of your own considerations of some fee adjustments. But betterment, you have very limited ability to adjust. You need to follow the rules.
Right.
Well, all I can say is, I have a little 2-bedroom condo that I can't pay $26,000 for.
Do you understand that it is, can be financed over 30 years at 0%?
I just don't think that I should have to pay it. None of this was clear. I mean, my little 2-bedroom condo cannot use 346 gallons of water a day. There's just no way. And if we missed some deadline of knowing about that, then I guess so, but I think it's moot that, I mean, we were the first ones that came forward and put in a deduct meter. What are you gonna do with all the other people who didn't know about this?
Ma'am, I think Mike Salicho has something to say to address your comments.
Thank you, Bob. I just wanted to distinguish again, Mike Salitro from the Town Manager's Office. I just want to distinguish between what seemed like the 2 points of matter for this hearing. First, the water use calculation as far as the betterment. I think it's been stated, but just to clarify, that all properties are bettered on all water use readings from that period. The second point of distinction is that the irrigation meter is not just for this unit, but for the entire condo association. Is that?
Yeah.
So that seems to be the biggest piece here, that it's for the entire association being billed through 1 meter based on the way the property was built. So I don't know that this board would have the ability to move this fee from this unit to the entire condo association, nor have I heard that been asked. But as those are the 2 points that have been brought up, I just think it's important to identify that they are related, but they are not the same.
The other thing is, until we knew that there was a problem, I bought the place in 2012, and I'd never had a water bill, because the water bill was always charged to Village Court Condo Association, because they were the one that was paying for all the irrigation. And for the inconvenience of having it in my basement, they covered the water for 20 years. But, so now that inconvenience is turned into a huge bill for me.
Ma'am, there's
Excuse
someone
me.
else?
My name's Gary Brusso, and I'm the president of the Village Court Condo. And I would like to have the results of the meeting that we had in August of 2023 read back, because we fully understood that if we put in a deduct meter, that we would be able to come back and chat with you a year later in regards to an abatement.
I don't think anybody would have said a year later. I think
I'm sorry, sir, I beg to differ.
okay. I wasn't there.
The previous chairman
Let's,
told us
this-
to come back
this
a year later, once this deduct meter was put in place, and we had different results.
Susan has the
The
minutes
minutes
on that
say, June 30th, 2024 is the final read for the betterment period. And that is actually inaccurate, but Tom suggests July 1, 2024 to put it on the calendar to come back to the board for further discussion in August.
It doesn't, for further discussion.
It was asked that you come back for further discussion, but it does, before that it does. It says, should install the new meter and let the board know when it has been done, so we have clear record of the property to deal with the betterment assignment.
Yes, Mark?
Let me ask you some questions, if I may. She indicates that, just fortuitously, the irrigation goes through her basement, did you say, ma'am?
Yeah, it has
Okay.
been there since
Okay.
condo was
And,
built.
and the benefit of that goes to the entire condo complex?
Yeah.
Okay.
One side of it, because there are two
Oh.
irrigation zones.
So it seems to me that she's the only one who has this particular issue, correct? Do you think it's in fairness that since this is a measurement of the particular flow at a given time in order to set a rate, you with me? Okay. Okay. And so is it not equitable for that fee to be divided amongst all the condo members?
Perhaps it should be, but at this point,
Please take,
Sir,
would you please take the microphone?
go up there, identify yourself.
Gary Brusso. But what we're attempting to talk, we went with your direction, the board's direction, and yes, the chair is different, but we did what you said, and you came and told us to go back a year later, and we would be able to discuss this. So if that wasn't the case, and particularly if the look back was 2020 through 2023, then what was the purpose of all that?
Sir, I'm trying to help you out because, but, you know, I'll explain it to you in further detail. You know, we're governed by two sets of rules, for the lack of a better word. One is essentially the law that was passed by the town. Don't shake your head, okay? And then the other is the rules and regulations which you just heard us discuss if you were here. Those rules and regulations are subject to change, adjustment, flexibility. The law of how to calculate it isn't, okay? So there appears to be an injustice that is visited upon this lady, and it is probably not fair, in a colloquial sense, for her to pay all the betterment fees for the whole association because she happened to have the meter in her basement, all right? So I'm asking you very, very simply, can you tell us whether or not, for her benefit and fairness, that whatever the betterment is, you just divide it between everybody else in the condo association?
That might be the case wherever we end up. But at this point, we're here talking about what you instructed us to do.
Sir,
and-
I'm going to cut you off right now because, sir,
That's a
Mark.
losing argument, okay? I'm trying to
divide,
with
dividing it
Yeah,
up
yeah,
by five.
Okay.
Sir, as a matter of practicality, we have no flexibility
Can't do it.
to grant your appeal, to grant your relief. The only practical avenue for relief is working it out, sharing the cost through the condo association. And that's it. That's all we have time for today. We have 9 other people seeking relief besides yourself between now and 3 o'clock. That's it. Yes, Tim.
As a question, and maybe Kevin can answer this, was there any overlay put in as, against the betterments, similar to what we do with the taxes, where we put an overlay in to cover any abatement requests? And there's nothing in the law that set that up for, no.
I'm not even familiar with that term. That is,
Overlay?
I'm not familiar with, that's a term in the assessor's area.
Yeah.
Again, I scanned your betterment bylaw just a few minutes ago. I see no words like that in there.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I would move that we deny the application for an abatement.
Do a second.
I'll second it, as long as we specify that it's for 11A Center Place.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Number 19, South Orleans Road. Is there someone here to speak to that?
The guy who's online.
Oh, sorry. Yes, sir.
Leonard.
Ready to
Hello,
deal
my
with
name's
your
Jack
request.
Leonard. Yeah, my name's Jack Leonard. I'm owner of 19A South Orleans Road on the Town Cove in Orleans. We do have an application that was submitted to the commission for a sewer betterment abatement. And I don't know if you have that documentation in front of you, that application?
We do.
Wonderful. Yeah, I think if I just to go through this quickly, just at a summary level, just to let you know, our assumption, of course, is that the amount that we were being asked to pay was based on past use, and past use being some indication of future use. And I guess the point that we wanted to make was that there was, during 2020 and 2021, there was sort of an exceptional use of water that was being used for irrigation of the banking, because we were having considerable erosion problems. And we worked through the Conservation Commission, and we had a contractor from Cape Organic put in native plants to restore the stability of the banking. So if you look at 2020 and 2021 as being sort of an exceptional use, and we exclude that from the analysis, we find that our use should be about 53 gallons per day. And that's what it should be, the charge should be based on, not on this time that we're actually irrigating.
Mr. Leonard, thank you for coming in. So our use, under our bylaw, one of the ways that you can get an abatement is through the water use data discrepancies or miscalculations. Are you suggesting that there was a discrepancy or miscalculation?
Yeah, I guess that was more, a question to the committee, is this because it is not representative what we'll be using going forward, if that could be excluded from that calculation?
And unfortunately, the calculation it's pretty straightforward. It is all metered water in 2020, 21, and 22. Your more, in your words, typical water flow would be dealt with through the sewer billing. But unfortunately, the way this system works, we took a snapshot in time across the entire town, and unfortunately, you were heavily irrigating, but irrigation water counts as metered water.
Yeah, so even though for 23 years over that period, that was not that was very atypical. We're not entitled to any kind of abatement.
I'm afraid not under the way the bylaw was written.
This is the bylaw as opposed to regulations. We have only 2 criteria under which we can offer relief under the bylaw. And your application does not satisfy either of those. There's a third avenue for relief. If you so choose and feel you qualify for it, the tax assessor will receive applications for financial hardship relief through that avenue. I'm sorry, our heart goes out to everybody who's, well, to the small number of properties that have been caught with those measurement years. We unfortunately have no flexibility to grant the relief you're asking for. And
Sir, yeah, thank you for that. But could you describe in brief what were the other 2 reasons?
One is a property classification, and the other is the hardship. So it's water use data discrepancies and miscalculations, property classifications, and demonstrated financial hardship.
Okay.
And again, this can be financed over 30 years at 0% interest.
Right, we've owned, my mother-in-law has owned this house since 1940. And it just happens to be those 2 years that the tree fell down and the banking fell down. So we're being punished for nature, even though we can prove that the water usage for the last 23 years was 53 gallons a day. That seems very tough.
I hear you, and I'm afraid that the bylaw does not allow us the flexibility to make exceptions.
So we can make this case to the tax person, is what you're saying, to the tax.
If you want to go talk to, it's the assessor's office, yes? Then, yes, you can apply for financial hardship consideration.
Okay.
Thank you very much for your time.
Rich, is there any other legal avenue that can be pursued to seek relief from our determination?
I believe they can make an appeal to the Superior Court in Barnstable.
Superior Court in Barnstable or
believe so. I
Superior
don't
Court
believe
in
it's-
Orleans?
It could be Orleans, yeah.
I think it's Orleans.
Yeah, okay. I thought it was Barnstable, but might be
Yeah,
Orleans.
we have our own court.
I don't believe it would be in a case of the appellate tax board, and I think it was determined it was the Superior Court.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what
So we can appeal to them, that's what you're saying, to the Superior Court in Orleans?
Yes, that's correct.
that's your, other than financial hardship, that would be your only pathway of possible relief.
Thank you very much for coming in.
Yeah, and thank you for your advice. We
Okay,
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So I'll make a motion to deny the betterment abatement request for 19 South Orleans Road.
You have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
Where are we?
9 Locust Road. Of anyone here representing 9 Locust Road?
There's someone on the.
They should be coming in via Zoom.
Ah, yes. Hello. I think you're muted. You're muted.
Hey there. Hey there, I can talk to 9 Locust Road if she's muted. Kathleen, are you unmuted or not? Sorry about that.
Who are you asking? We'd like somebody to,
Yeah, my name is Michael Voida. My wife's Kathleen Voida. We live at 9 Locust Road in Orleans. I believe she shared with you our similar request, I think, to the person that came in before us as far as water usage during a period when we did not own the home at 9 Locust Road, where we bought in 2023. And I think we were also looking for an abatement to the water use for that period that the previous owner was using that. But it seems that the reasons that you gave the previous person may fall into our category too. But I guess I'd like to just be clear on that.
You are absolutely correct. Unfortunately, the betterment goes with the property, and yes, it's a similar situation, so that we would not be able to grant you relief.
Okay. Yeah, beyond that, sorry, I'm getting some text from my wife who's unable to connect. Can I request if, is this the only opportunity to go over this at this time, or can we go over, she's texted me a few other issues, but I don't think most likely those issues will probably change what your thought is, but I just wanted to ask the committee if there is another opportunity to share this beyond today, given our technical difficulties here.
well, sir, unless you can establish that your property has been misclassified, i.e. residential versus commercial versus whatever, or you can show that the people who calculated your sewer units made mathematical calculations, either because they used the wrong water data for the 3 years or just made a mistake. Unless you can demonstrate one of those two things, we have no power, and we regret that. We're sad for this hardship, but there's no relief that this commission can grant you. As I said earlier, 2 paths of possible follow-up after we vote on your issue would be.
Can I ask a quick question? I'm sorry, I was just able to join. Is the
Okay.
rate the same for commercial as it is for residential, or is it higher for commercial?
It's the same.
It's the same.
Okay, because we are zone commercial, that's why I wanted to
No, it's the
check.
same.
Yes, I'm familiar with your property. So there's the avenue of discussing financial hardship with the tax assessor of the town, or appealing to the Superior Court in Orleans. And of course, you can spread your payments out interest-free over 30 years.
Just a clarification, Superior Court's in Barnstable. We have a district court here in Orleans, so Superior.
sorry.
So, Barnstable.
It is
Superior.
So
Barnstable.
Rich was correct. Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you. So, we're sorry that we can't offer you the relief you're requesting, and we're going to vote on that now. Do we have a motion?
Sure, I'll make a motion to deny the betterment abatement for 9 Locust Road.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. So we're moving on to number 4 Main Street. Is there someone here for number 4 Main Street? Is there any
They confirmed
hand
it.
up or anything?
They confirmed to be here in person. They might have left.
Yeah, I saw 2 people leave.
Are they outside of the corridor?
I think they just.
I think,
Listened and
Back
left.
and forth.
They could see, because it's all irrigation on the application. The issue is irrigation.
yeah, so it's, as Mary says, it's a irrigation issue, which
Thank you, Tim.
sadly, it is what it is, a 3-year measurement period of actual water consumption. So, again, we have no basis to grant relief to the appellant. So do I have a motion?
Yeah, I move that it be denied, and I also note that the applicant failed to appear at the hearing when called.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Do we have someone to speak to number 22 and 24 Lots Hollow Road?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
John Ostman, I represent the Sealy and Lucy Family Trust, otherwise known as Agway of Cape Cod. And, excuse me, Agway received 4 betterment letters for the 4 parcels that are located in the retail operation for Agway in Orleans. If I can, I'd like to pass out a plot plan. That might be helpful.
Actually, we already have one, sir.
You might want one with my little additions
Oh.
to it.
Oh, okay. So I've 3 pages of diagrams.
This might make it a little bit easier.
Okay,
Okay.
be good? Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, it's nicely marked out.
Thank you.
So, pardon me. Let me explain that there are 4 parcels, and if you're looking at my plot plan there, there's 10 Lots Hollow Road, there's 20 Lots Hollow Road, and then there's 22 and 24 Lots Hollow Road. 22 and 24 Lots Hollow Road used to be a single parcel called 22 Lots Hollow Road. Agway, over the past 4 years, has gone through a major redevelopment of the site. Anyone who's been there in the last year or so has seen that a new construction for a greenhouse was connected to the retail operation at 20 Lots Hollow Road. In order to do that, we had to go to land court and have a lot line moved so that we would have proper setbacks for the new greenhouse that went into effect a few years ago. So in doing that, what land court did is took Lot 22 and made 2 lots out of it, Lot 22 and Lot 24. So what you see there, if you're looking here, Lots Hollow Road is on the bottom, and you're facing basically west. So in between 20 and 10 is the new Seaside Cannabis Retail Facility, to give you an idea. And for those of us who've been around even longer, that's the old insurance building. So anyway, that's the a little bit of a history of why there are 4 properties there. Number 10 and number 20 are owned by the Peter and Susan Weil Family Trust. Those are the parents of the owners of Agway of Cape Cod. The Sealy and Lucy Family Trust are owned by Josh Weil and Jessica Thomas, who are the children of Peter and Susan. They are the owners of Agway of Cape Cod. So they actually own, or the trustees of the property, which is number 22 and number 24, Lots Hollow Road. So 4 betterment letters were received for number 10, number 20, number 22, and number 24. Number 10 and number 20 have sewer connections, have water connections, and we're not talking about those today. So they're going to be, I believe, included in the real estate tax bill, and we'll be handling it that way. So what remains are the other 2. Lot 22 and Lot 24, again, originally 1 property, now 2. Both of those lots, both of those parcels have no water service and have no sewer service, and therefore no betterment per se. And the reason for the appearance today and the abatement application is to talk about or clarify whether these 2 parcels are actually candidates for betterment charges, or should they be relieved.
Just one question that may or may not be relevant, but why the creation of 2 separate lots to achieve the betterment objective? The setback objective?
That was not our doing, that was Land Court that did that. It was not our original.
You asked, right?
Huh?
You asked.
We asked Land Court to move a property line. We didn't ask them to make 2 lots. So what we were going to do is expand Lot 20 and just leave it at that, and they made 2 lots out of it.
So the problem seems to be that because you've got 2 lots and they are on the assessor's database as 2 lots, even though they're not developed, they are presumed to be developable, and so therefore would each have a betterment of 1 sewer unit. And that's
That
how
was-
you end up with the betterment charge.
So there, okay. So number 22 is not buildable as it is. 22 is sort of not quite a panhandle, but appears to be a panhandle in its original form. But 22 is not buildable. If you imagine the site, because many of you have been there before, it's the hill that the furniture sits on, and it's very small.
Right.
So it's not a buildable property. 24, the back lot, used to be what would be referred to as the bag lot. So when you used to go into Agway, you drive in the back, pick up your bags, turn around and come out. What was changed in the redevelopment was the ability to drive through and around to the back to Lot 10, which is now the bag lot, which allowed us to create a space for the new greenhouse, which is attached to the retail building on Lot 20, and then the back lot is simply a nursery. And the water is from a well that we use for irrigation, so it was not involved in the town.
Do commission members have any questions or comments? I have a question, but I'll wait. Okay, hearing none. My question is there a town official who can comment on, either can confirm the unbuildable nature of Lot 22, and if so, have the betterment calculations misclassified a property? That's my issue, because it might give us a basis for relief.
Mr. Chair, as your select board liaison, the only thing I'll respond to that, and looking at maybe Tim and Mike Solitro on the other part, but again, looking at your betterment bylaw, so this is paragraph 6-4, sewer unit calculation, paragraph E, non-residential, undeveloped properties. Sewer unit shall be calculated on the basis of the highest and best use permitted as right of zoning then in effect. So it does indicate that every property, developed or undeveloped, should receive a betterment. I think I'll turn it over to Tim, who actually took these categories and then applied what would be the highest and best use permitted as a right of the zoning then in effect.
Okay.
Tim Harrison with AECom. I guess I will speak on behalf of the group of staff that were working together on these classifications. We were working with the town planner, the assessor, the treasurer, and when we talked about these properties, there was a decision made with that group that that was how these properties would be classified, and that's how those properties were flagged for a betterment as individual buildable lots.
I have a question. Maybe it's just an observation. I don't know what you could build other than a driveway and maybe a turnaround on that so-called buildable lot. I think the common man would probably say it's an unbuildable lot. So is there any way that, is there any way legally or within the regulations to revisit how that lot was defined?
I can add a little bit. I did ask George Meservey, our town planner, and his response to me was, there is a note on the 2022 A&R plan indicating that Lot 3 is to be combined with the primary Agway lot. Is that true, I guess, is the question.
I'm sorry, Lot 3,
Lot 3, that small piece.
the little piece.
There's a
at
note
22. Right, okay.
And
that
that
it
was
is
gonna
to
be combined with
the
present-
primary lot next door, number 20.
Okay.
So I guess clarification on whether that is indeed going to happen or not. It might make a difference.
Not to my knowledge.
So, because we also have a copy of a message from the assessor's office that refers to that as a subdivision and says, this was from, where is it? September 13th, 2024, and it then says, third and fourth quarter real estate bills for both parcels, those are 22 and 24, will be issued in December. So if there's some information in here that I'm missing, I'd be happy to have it in my hands as soon as possible. I think our hands are tied with the way things are formatted now, because they are two undeveloped lots by land court decision, and as much as I'd like to grant relief, I don't think we can.
So the issue is 24, even though there's no water service or no sewer service, is still considered buildable and under the bylaw.
I think developable, I think is a better word.
Is that the way the bylaw is written?
Yes.
Buildable or developable?
Developable.
Well, okay. So it certainly is conceivably developable if Agway were to sell that at some point in the future, even though it's somewhat landlocked. Technically, it could be, so I can, see how the bylaw would be, enforced for that. 22, putting on my planning board hat for a minute, is not buildable. It's simply not a buildable lot. We would never classify it that way. And I guess what you're telling me is that the recourse here to get relief for 22 is to go to the assessor's office and have that undone in some way?
I read what I read, and this is way beyond my pay grade. Being very concrete, this is what we have in front of us, and this is how we have to treat it. So I don't know what else we can do.
I mean, I thought at the beginning we said that we could make decisions based on misclassification. And
But
this
it is-
seems to be
it is-
misclassified.
But it is currently classified that way, so I think there would have to be some determination that it was misclassified.
I don't think we don't have
We
the
don't have
ability
the
to
ability
say
to
this has been misclassified
Okay,
because
so if he went to the planning board and the planning board says misclassified, then he could come back
Misclassified as what?
as a buildable lot?
Is it buildable or?
Or developable? Developable, sorry.
Long, narrow.
I think one thing procedurally, given you do have a fairly unique situation here, other ones that you've had to deal with are fairly straightforward, but given that this is a procedural hearing, and I know a few of you know this, you might want to continue this to a date and time certain.
Do we
that will-
have, do we have time to do that?
We do, we can continue it to, if all parties agree, we can continue it to the next meeting. It's currently scheduled for December 4th.
And I think if you do that, date and time certain, that would then allow you to confer with the assessor, because if in fact, I believe you could have him confirm, along with the town planner, this truly is an undevelopable, that takes it out of play. So I think you may have that as consideration under one of your exemptions.
Can I just ask for a point of information in connection with the scope of undevelopable? Undevelopable means under no circumstances whatsoever, including combining with other parcels, changing it, going to the land court, and doing everything possible to make it developable, because what we have here is the predicate of developability together with best use. And you can't really separate the two, because you've made a determination by the classification that there is a best use for this property, correct?
I'm really hearing your dialogue, Mr. Chair. I think what you're hearing is not only conferring with the town planner and the assessor, but
Yes.
you might want to bounce this off of town council. That
Yes.
then can inform you at your next continued
Yeah.
hearing.
In any event.
And then have you, John, pursue further information as well, if you're willing.
Sure. I mean, let me make a comment too. For all practical purposes, for Agway to go back to land court and to try to redo this and make it one lot again for the purposes of this, the amount of money it would take to do that is way above anything we're talking about in betterment. So we're not going to pursue that avenue because it's irrelevant at that point. But what we will do is talk with the planner ourselves, talk with Brian, and see what we can do about that lot. And if you're willing to continue to December 4th,
Yep.
very happy to appear again and see where we go on that.
Okay.
I think I'm clear on the reasoning for 24, because it's quote, developable, we can understand that, and so we got a sewer unit 1 for that. but-
One sewer unit.
So could we have somebody make a motion, deny that one and continue number 22? Continue 22 Lots Hollow, deny 24 Lots Hollow.
Okay.
I just had a question of my own curiosity. You think there is there's a distinguishment between developable and buildable?
I think it's enough of an issue that's open.
Okay.
That's your first impression on this, that you probably want to involve, the source of information along with town council to give you advice. You
Yeah,
may
no.
see some more in the future, so.
That's why I was asking.
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
So I'll make a motion to deny the betterment abatement hearing for, make sure I get the right number, 24 Lots Hollow.
Yep.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye. And I'll make a second motion that we continue the betterment abatement hearing for 22 Lots Hollow until 12/4,
And let it reflect that it was with the consent of all parties.
with the consent of all parties.
And Ginny, sorry to do this, date and time certain. When you continue hearings, you have to have a time.
1 o'clock.
1 o'clock. Okay,
1:30.
1:30. Sue says 1:30.
Okay. we have a second on that?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Lost everything here.
All right. 37 Locust Road. Someone speaking for 37 Locust Road?
I know she was here.
Oh dear.
Irrigation.
This is an irrigation issue.
Yep.
So.
An outside shower.
An outside shower. So, as we've said, everything goes through the water meter. So I'd make a motion to deny the hearing for 37 Locust Road.
Second.
And note that the applicant did not appear.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. Appeal denied. 19 Cove Road, Unit 5.
Good afternoon.
No, I'm sorry, that was 9 Locust, no.
That was what was just denied?
37.
37 Locust
So
Road.
this is
This is
19.
19.
Getting my sections mixed up. Okay,
Good
that's
afternoon,
Tim.
everyone. I'm Tim Brady. I live at Bakers Pond Road, which is not at all subject to sewer regulations. My office is at 44 Route 28 in Orleans, which has a sewer connection and a betterment. And I own a storage condo at 19A Cove Road. And it does have sewer available, but I have no water connection in my unit. I submitted information that it is an office condo. The upper floors, I should now say, are residential condos. Used to be offices on the first floor, apartments on the second floor. It's now all apartments. But the basement is a basement. It's Unit 5 of this condominium. It has no water connection. It has no water meter. And I submitted some pictures showing the basement, and therefore, I feel that there should be no betterment charge for Unit 5 for this condo. The condo itself has a meter. I pay my taxes, just like at my home. All the taxpayers in Orleans have a tax burden due to the sewer, even though they have no benefit of the sewer, or if you want to call it benefit of the sewer. So this unit is basically the same as that. I pay my real estate taxes for this unit. That includes the portion for the sewer, but I have no use of the sewer, no water connection. So it feels to me like I should be treated the same way as the rest of the taxpayers for that betterment portion.
Tim, we have a note from George Meservey that the parcel was approved by the ZBA to convert the 2 existing commercial spaces to residential.
Correct.
And because that ZBA decision exists, and this is in your words, undeveloped parcel, that parcel.
No, I'm not, pardon me, I'm not talking about undeveloped parcels. I have the parcel has a building. The building has been approved by the ZBA for apartments on the first floor.
And
I own the basement as a condominium unit, just like everybody else's basement. It has no water. It has no sewer connection.
am I reading this wrong, Sue, that the 2 existing commercial spaces have been permitted by ZPA?
No, that's correct.
They were converted, the first floor commercial spaces, there was a second floor, which were 2 apartments. The first floor, 2 commercial units were converted to apartments, so there's 4 apartments, and then there's a basement and a garage.
So I'm misreading this.
However, George Meservey said there's nothing prohibiting the basement from becoming commercial.
So it's developable.
Yes. And as a developable property, it is subject
To
to
one sewer
Yeah,
unit.
there you go.
betterment.
Okay, so I was going to talk about this after because I didn't think we would get in this discussion. Orleans is big on trying to preserve open space. So you just told a couple of people that have vacant lots that it costs them a chunk of money to continue to have their open space. It seems to me that vacant properties, you can't just own a vacant property, you can't just have it sitting there. I can't have a garden on my vacant property now because I have to pay a betterment fee on it. When I come to develop that property, that would be a good time, in my mind, to pay my share of the betterment fee. And the same thing goes for my basement. Every shed, every shed on a commercial property could be developed into something different.
And I believe it would be way more expensive than
I
paying
don't
the
think,
betterment.
you have not, costs have not been a concern of this board that I've been aware of. So all I'm saying is that, to be fair, vacant lots in general should not be paying part of the betterment. Once they're developed, fine, let them pay their portion of the development, or the betterment, whatever that might be. But you can't, as a property owner, now you're being taxed, basically, you're having a significant benefit, a betterment on your property because you are fortunate enough to own a vacant lot that you'd like to have your garden on. I don't understand the logic for that.
Sir, what's the best use of your basement?
Right now, storage,
There you go.
no water.
You just developed it.
No, it's storage right now. It's developed. It has no connection to water.
So, Mr.
It'll never
Chair,
have connection to water.
One is.
Excuse me,
One
let's-
has to do with the pipe, the other has to do with the title, okay?
So,
So,
the
Let's
board,
end this and give Mr.
if I could, just,
Yeah, you'll have a chance. Let Mr.
So,
Galligan
Mr.
talk.
Chair, the betterment bylaw, as I mentioned, went through extensive hearing process, all the way to town meeting. It was deliberated and voted on by the town. You have a law to enforce. It does, with the sewers in place, better every property that those parcels are near. And that relates to those that may have a water meter, those that are developed, or those that may be developable. To the point that you've heard earlier about any conservation property, those properties where it can be deemed that they truly are permanently protected, and that was what Tim Harrison went through, the review that they did with the assessor's office, where there are permanent restrictions that can ensure that will never be developed, those properties do not receive a betterment, just as municipal properties do not receive a betterment, consistent with the bylaw.
Okay. Tim?
the board at this, I think we all know we're all very early in the sewer development. Aren't there like 16 phases or something?
Yes.
And the board at this point in time has said a number of times since I've been here for the last hour, the bylaw doesn't allow us to do the right thing. I didn't hear anybody say we should look at changing the bylaw to see how can we address some of these issues that are coming up. Sprinklers, the gentleman that was at 19 Route 28, South Orleans Road, he had an eroding bank. I'm very familiar with that. I did all of his engineering work. He did extensive work to stabilize his bank. He's going to pay a betterment fee based on probably the only situation in Orleans where that occurs. And you're saying we have no way to get around that, and nobody is saying maybe we should look at the bylaw and see if it can't be changed. It's not going to be, we're going to be hearing these same issues for the next 40 or 50 years. And we're very early on. It might be good for somebody to say, we need to look into those things and do the right thing, rather than just saying, this is what the bylaw says today.
Is there anybody has a comment on that from town officials or the commission?
I would just add, again, learning from town council, the betterment application is a one-time instant. You roll up your total cost that are to be bettered, and you apply them. To reopen the betterment bylaw on a go-back basis would put you guys, because it would all be under you, through a world of hurt. I frankly don't see how you'd manage that, and I don't think it would even be consistent with state law, which is what the betterment language is coming from. Go to Mass General Law related to sewer betterments. This is what we're following. It's done in 340 other communities throughout Massachusetts.
And once again, there's your comment. There's no way we can fix it. It's not right, but we can't fix it.
So this pertains to this betterment for Phase 1. When we do the betterment for Phase 2 or Phase 3 or subsequent betterments, could we modify the rules?
Phase 2 is already.
Work with
Of
the
course you
case
could.
in front of you today.
Yeah.
No, I can understand today.
Work with the case in front of you today.
I'm projecting out, right? We're talking about trying to solve a problem. I'm
And that's not-
projecting into,
That's not the case in front of you in this hearing right now.
I think it's a good time for discussion.
It's not on the agenda, so we'll have to put it on.
It's certainly
another
related to the agenda, it's related to my hearing, and once again, here you are saying, there's nothing we can do about that, it's not right, and there's nothing we can do about it, let's move on, and I don't think that's right.
I
Sorry to
hear you.
say.
Okay, do we
I'm going to move,
have a motion?
I'll make a
deny
motion
appeal?
to deny the betterment abatement hearing, appeal for 19 Cove Road, Unit 5.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for your, thank you, Tim.
Thank you, Tim.
The next one at 9 Anthony Drive, he withdrew his request for a hearing.
I'm sorry, what,
The next one, 9 Anthony Drive, withdrew his request for a hearing.
okay, do we need to deny it
Let's
formally?
note that.
Yeah,
You can note it, you can even deny it if you'd like.
No, why don't we just accept the withdrawal?
okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So move to accept the withdrawal?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. .33 West Road, Unit 6C. Is there anyone here to speak to that? Or anyone hand up on the?
No hands raised.
Okay.
I sent a letter informing them of the hearing date, but I never heard any response back, Zoom or in person or otherwise. I tried to make a phone call and I received a busy signal each time, so.
Okay.
I move that it be denied on the basis of our regulation and on the basis of the fact that the applicant for abatement failed to appear.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 46 Orleans Road. Mr. Kanaga?
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
I don't have a vacant lot, but it is unfortunately occupied by attorneys. So I'm here to argue on their behalf. We're at 46 South Orleans Road. The sewer abatement, or the sewer charge came in for this property at, I want to say 33 something.
38.
38, yeah, give or take $5,000. And we thought it was high, so we started looking through the other charges. We had two major water leaks over the last 3 years. One was, I think, for 2 months. It was at the main on the street, so it was unseeable until eventually, I think the front yard was flooding a little bit, and the water department kindly alerted us to the problem. The other was actually at the building, where there's a broken pipe on a side that none of us go by, so it was just kind of leaking for a while until, again, the water department said, you got a leak. To give you an idea, we are a smaller firm. Any given time, 4 or 5 people in the office. If you look at Latanzi, Spalding, and Landreth, not to throw my brothers under the bus, but their charge was 22,000, and they probably have, I mean, well over 30 employees there, just to give you an idea of water use of a law firm. We do have 2 apartments out back, so I'm not trying to skirt that. I would say if you're gonna try to add everything up, you're looking at, you know, say 2 units off Old Colony plus a small office like Delia and Kavanaugh. I think their charge was somewhere around 8,000 or 9,000. So I'm not trying to give you an exact number, but I believe we're being overcharged, not on purpose. It's based on water. Water was being dumped on the ground inadvertently. Obviously, we would have fixed it if we had known. The water main break was the only reason I know about it is because the charge to fix that was significant because it's a large water pipe coming in and we had to hire a big excavator to fix it. So I do recall that. We just asked for some consideration. I understand the calculations on all the properties. I understand how it's done. I sat on a lot of the hearings for this, so I'm aware of the calculation. I just look at like kind. I think Bill Henchy's office, he was, 1 or 2 units. Delia Kavanaugh, 1 or 2 units. Latanzi, Spalding, and Landreth, much larger than us, but they were $16,000 less. So we'd ask for some abatement. I don't know how much, but anything would be nice. I'm happy to give you a calculation, but that's how I'm basing it. I think the units out back are small 1 and 2 bedroom units that could easily be translated to Old Colony Way type unit. And then the law office, I would say, calculated on the bigger of the 2 small firms, which would be Delia Kavanaugh.
Weren't you notified promptly by the water department? Because we have 24-hour monitoring of water usage. Weren't you notified promptly of each of the leaks?
I don't know if the big leak wasn't. I don't think. That was years ago. I'm not saying you.
2019.
2019.
So that was
Well,
outside of the look back.
That was before the look-back time.
We have 2
Or
water
betterment
leaks.
calculation.
One was in June 2024, the other one.
So
was
that's outside the look back as well.
But anything prior to the meter wouldn't register on the meter anyway.
Right.
Right.
So, I mean, it is what it is. If you look at our water use, I just don't see how that can possibly be the case, but.
Well, if you had acted promptly on fixing whatever the relevant leak was, you would have reduced the amount of water that your betterment's based on.
Both the leaks were outside the
One
look
what?
back. No, both.
Both were?
Both were.
One wouldn't count at all.
Well, then what's your complaint, sir?
Well, I think the complaint is that it looks arbitrarily high, and I'm using that word on purpose. But that would be.
But it's based on your water,
You wanna tell
metered
me
water
how-
use.
How much is arbitrarily high? How much is consistently fair?
Yeah, I think that's where I was giving you those other numbers, where
From where? Just
They're your numbers.
out of the air? I mean, where did you get them?
they're your numbers.
Yeah, but
I have them. I happen to have them here with me.
165 Route 6A is 5567. That's a small office.
So this is a comparison analysis with your neighbors relative to your request for an abatement?
Yes, as use-wise, that's my argument.
Okay.
Unfortunately, water in to your meter is the way we calculate the betterment. The leaks were outside of your look back, and so there is nothing you can do as far as an abatement is concerned.
I mean, I really don't see any basis for you contesting the recorded 3 years of usage if there were no leaks during that time. And I just don't understand it. I understand the betterment is high, a lot of bucks, and but I don't see that you're making an honest argument there.
Well,
You're including some information, excluding others, and we can only base calculations on the amount of water that flowed through your meter over the 3 years.
right, and the purpose,
During that time, there were no leaks, right?
I thouve there was, I guess we
Well,
were outside of it.
I think you're
so.
wrong, and if you'd like to, I'm just trying to be kind, and someone who's an official, let me know if I'm out of order, but if you wish to continue this so that you can present an accurate argument, we're happy to continue to December 4th.
I would, I'd appreciate that, I'd appreciate it, no, I don't think I was being dishonest,
Well,
with all due respect.
I said you
Would you like me to make a motion?
To what, to
I move
continue? I don't know if he wants to
deny
continue.
the, a betterment abatement request for 46 South Orleans Road.
Second.
I would like to just say one thing. I mean, it appears to be strictly irrigation, honestly. So having said that, I would suggest you install a deduct meter so that you're not paying it on the other end as well with your sewer bills.
I think the intent is actually to put in a well, because that was also a realized expense. I think last time he talked to you was what that idea came from, so.
Either one would work.
Yeah.
So,
I think you would process take a vote, so aye. Did you have to?
I was getting ready to, I was just unclear whether we were still talking about a continuation or not. I don't see how your data will be different. So I'd recommend you not waste your time and effort. We're sorry that things are expensive. It's the way it is, and you can
I'll be okay, I just,
stretch it over 30 years, at 13,000 or whatever it is.
33.
38.
Sorry, 38,000. And so, are we ready to vote? All in favor of not allowing an abatement?
But the motion was for continuance, was it not?
No, it was not.
No,
Okay,
it
fine.
wasn't.
Okay.
That's why I was
Got it.
not sure where we were. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Unanimous.
Move we adjourn?
That's a good idea.
I think so.
Look, we're still not quite 3 o'clock. Guess we had a couple people drop out.
Yep. So we have to vote on the adjournment.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.